also law is an apprentice-based business where you're working with somebody more senior who is mentoring the next level of associates coming through. So it's deeply important that we provide a space that allows them to do their best work, because we don't want them to stay at home, right? And the law firms don't want them to stay at home. They want them in the office engaging and bringing up the next level of lawyers who are going to run the firm.
The real innovations happening in terms of how they're occupying space. For a long time, they've been very resistant or risk averse to being more progressive and getting greater efficiencies out of their real estate. And I feel like now something has changed in terms of them being more open to occupying space in more innovative ways, thinking about how attorneys are housed and not necessarily always reinforcing the embedded hierarchy that's sort of traditional in law firm practice.
And we're hearing from a lot of law firms and associates that are coming up is that the mentorship as well has changed, like the being untethered from paper, but also the use of technology, that they don't always want to be mentored in a partner's office, right? So thinking about there was a whole cohort who were working from home, this sort of anxiety about going into a partner's office to have something reviewed. So often having a secondary space, so with the shrinking of a potential partner office, it allows us to think about how we utilize the real estate differently. So they can have more meeting rooms and more common spaces, which allow for that more coaching and mentoring in a more equal playing field, right? Also, we're seeing a lot of, as I mentioned, innovation and technology come through in even the way they're utilizing their meeting rooms. And so we're seeing a lot more virtual hearing rooms, right? And so we've been actually working to design furniture that supports a virtual hearing, whether that being, having the central piece being a sit to stand, the ability for clients and other associates to be on or off screen, the ability to use technology to their advantage. I think we're also seeing a lot more focus on technology within the private office. So understanding that historically, pre-pandemic, partners and associates would take calls with clients and they would be off camera. They wouldn't be in the room. Now they have this visual or this window into the office. And so we really are thinking about how we innovate on acoustics, the way what the technology is actually picking up, potentially the use of whiteboards for practice groups like tax. How do we think about designing that space so the technology is actually capturing, or in some cases, not capturing people? I think, we're finding that the legal profession is looking to the professional services profession on people, right? How do you treat people? How do you engage with them? How do you connect them to the brand? How do you focus on their mental health and well-being, right? We understand that legal professionals work long hours. And so how do you think about designing a space that actually can give back to your employees and engage with them in a different way? So we're seeing that the legal profession is drawing from areas like health and wellness facilities, right? Gyms, juice bars, spaces for people to decompress and connect, sound and music rooms. We're seeing large amenity spaces for actual gathering, right? Gone are the days of a specific staff lounge or a lawyer lounge. We're seeing it become more of this multi-use space where people can actually connect and come together. You can host client events, but you actually are, giving back. Barista bars, there's so many.
Yeah, and I think what's happening is that there's also this breakdown of what I would call a traditional law firm between attorneys and other. I think there's this understanding, the whole organization, celebrating them in the amenities and showcasing them in terms of not necessarily having like the amenities for lawyers and staff on a different floor, but actually having it be right at the moment of arrival, blurring the line between client space and workspace a little, helps to break down that hierarchy.
Absolutely. We're finding that that connection between the amenity space, especially if you're designing, an amazing cafe space with your barista, we're now seeing that legal professionals are bringing their clients into those spaces. So rather having that very strict separation between the two, not only are we seeing it, we're encouraging it, right? We're designing spaces that allow people to feel comfortable and also be proud, right? This sort of pride of place in which you can bring people past the traditional boardroom and actually into the space and engage with, your space or facility.
So I think law firm clients are a specific group of clients that are very different from others. I think it has a lot to do with how they work day to day and how they've been trained as attorneys. There's this very serious level of rigor and attention to detail. The way that they focus and need to focus, the way we design for that is really critical. But I think what for us and our process with them, that's very interesting, is that they're very, very diplomatic. So in terms of leading them through a design process, it's really quite enjoyable because they are making decisions based on you litigating basically why you're doing certain things, and they really do appreciate that, and it feels like they're very much co-creating space with you and co-creating the design process.
You know, we deeply understand the work behaviors of the legal professionals, right? So we understand that they spend the majority of their day reading, writing, and corresponding, which we understand are very heads down tasks. So we have to design spaces in which they can hyper-focus. And so we think about acoustics, we think about access to daylight, we think about ergonomics within their spaces. And you're right, they are diplomatic, and they also appreciate evidence-based design, which we deeply understand, whether it be about neurodiverse design, ergonomics. We integrate those into the spaces so that people can be at their best and work at their best.